Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Screaming for Progress podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Lang, and with me, as always, my co-host, Liam Morrow. Liam, how are you doing?
Yeah, all right. It's been a bit challenging to remember what happened.
Yes.
Because we're, 3 shows behind now?
Yes, we are a little bit behind for that. I do apologise. We were trying to,
Oh, sorry.
You're all right. We're trying to catch up, and one of these things, life gets in the way, but we are getting there. We are hopefully going to catch you up within the next few days. So obviously, if you're listening to this in the archive, then don't worry about this bit. Just wait until we start talking about matches. If you are listening to this today as it goes live, then obviously, stay tuned over the next few days. We will be talking chapters 63 and 64, which are now on demand, as well as hopefully, and I'm not going to say too much, but I'm keeping fingers crossed, we're going to have a couple of special shows for you coming up very soon as well. So very exciting. Make sure that you are tuned in on Twitter at Progress Scream, at Out After Dark 216 for myself, and at The Grim Fish for Liam. But without further ado, since we are playing catch up, we are going to batter through chapter 62 for you, talk about that, and hopefully get on to something else. But yeah, chapter 62 was a bit of a weird one, still at the start of the year, back in the Electric Ballroom in Camden. I don't think it's the best looking card that they've put on, but there's a couple of really big matches on it. The triple threat in the middle of the show, really big match, and of course we had 3 title matches, so plenty to get on with, plenty to talk about, and there's actually a few decent points from the show as well. So the first big point is the 5th Natural Progression series kicks off with Chris Ridgway, not Cridge Ridgway, taking on Omari. So I really like Omari. He's really growing on me. I think the more confident he gets, the more we see him. I think he's good. This was a pretty decent wrestling match, I think. They went pretty hard at one point, and it was really good. Ridgway got the win. I believe his first Progress win, actually.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And yeah, I thought this was a good fun match. What did you reckon to the opener?
Yeah, it was better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chris Ridgway is your typical, hard as fuck, muscle bound, guy. But Omari is he's one of these ones like sort of Maverick Mayhew. They're not overly big, but they can hang with the big guys because they can just bounce around the ring so much.
Yeah.
Ridgway won, but I think Omari sort of has opened a few eyes.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's what Omari has to do. I mean, he's had a couple of outings on chapter shows now. He went from being pretty generic on his first outing to people now sort of knowing who he is and being quite excited to see his matches. So I think that's a pretty good start to him. He's tagging around the independents, I believe, with Chris Brooks. Well, Kid Lycos was injured as well, so he's obviously going to be learning a bit of sort of showmanship from CCK guys while they're touring. So big things coming from Omari, but not in this Natural Progression series. Obviously, Chris Ridgway advances in that, and we'll talk about further matches in that series as we get on to later chapters. But that's obviously still an ongoing deal. So next up, we had the return of 2 men, not seen them in chapter shows in a while, is Pastor William Ever taking on Roy Johnson. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw William Ever on a Progress chapter, and Roy Johnson, I think we last saw at Super Strong Style 16 back in May, so yeah, it's been a while. This was kind of what it was, but big talking point in the middle was Bill Ever getting injured. He hit the deck with some force, and yeah, apparently he's torn his quad and had a big
Yeah.
egg on his face. It was pretty nasty. I don't know if the match went like I don't know if that was how it was meant to go towards the end.
No, I think it was he realised he'd injured himself. He's probably sort of had a little sneaky word to the ref saying, like, you know, I've injured myself, so we've got to change things a bit, and they've, you know, sort of cobbled something together on the fly.
Yeah.
Which, you know, all these indie guys are actually quite good at doing that because of sort of, you know, the schedules they have, injuries happen, they have to do things quickly. So
Yeah.
I think that probably worked in their favour a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think in any way that this was a planned match. I mean, if anything, it's very unusual for Progress to just schedule a 7-minute match on a chapter show. But yeah, I think it's a shame when injuries happen. I don't like seeing them. Obviously, first time we've seen Bill Ever back for a while. Probably the last time we see him in a little while as well. Got to believe the plan was for him to maybe take part in some way in the Natural Progression series, possibly. Although, no, he wouldn't be because he's a former heavyweight champion. Super Strong Style is what I meant, because I think that was the last time we saw him. I think that was the last time we saw him as well, if memory serves me right. So
yeah, because he got quite a bad injury just after that, didn't he? Which kept him out for a while. So.
Yeah, I think he was on one of the sort of live the Dome shows, I think, and that's been the sort of like second match back in Progress or something. So
yeah,
it's a shame because, you know, he's a former champion. It's a shame to see him in the ropes like this, but it's the way of it, quite unfortunately. So yeah, 2 matches down. We had one pretty good match. One ended probably prematurely due to injury, but there was no way that the next match wasn't going to entertain. The triple threat between Chris Brooks taking on Zack Sabre Jr. and Trent Seven. Now, this was really fun. The evening was on the same night as the Royal Rumble, and Trent Seven kind of got himself a bit excited about this. He chucked both guys over the top rope, pointed up at John Briley like he was a WrestleMania sign, pointed at a Progress Ultras flag like it was a WrestleMania sign, and then we got into the meat of the match. The British Strong Style kind of cockabout is getting a little bit old, if I have to say anything. You know, you're just expecting Trent Seven cocking around for like 15 minutes at the start of each one. But once they get into it, you know, they're really, really good. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Trent Seven, like you said, he just mucks around too much at the beginning. I know it's all in sort of the vein of entertainment, but sometimes you just think, like, not every match needs to have 10 minutes of you being a dick, basically. Which unfortunately takes away from the fact that he's actually quite a good wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, when you strip away all the mucking around and the mustache mounting stuff, he's actually quite a decent wrestler. So I think that stops us taking him more seriously with, you know, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. But you know, Chris Brooks, you know what you're getting from him. Zack Sabre Jr., one of the best in the world on the indie scene. So you know what you're getting from him as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was it. It was Zack Sabre Jr. that ended up picking up the win. Nearly 20 minute worth of match here. It was pretty good. I thought Chris Brooks played his part really well. He went for like a double octopus at one point. It was pretty good.
Yeah, if he wasn't so sort of tall and gangly, he never would have done it.
No, it was pretty impressive. You have to imagine that they practiced that backstage, I think.
Oh,
But yeah, so Zack Sabre Jr. he kind of kicks about Progress. It's good to see him there. It's good to see him win. But the guy's all over the world all the time. So I'd like to see him stay in Progress for a little while. I'd like to see a sort of decent running program with Zack Sabre Jr. Rather than him just sporadic appearances.
I will just one little thing that annoys me about Zack Sabre Jr. is that he's gotten quite political recently.
Yeah.
His entrance music's like about fuck the Tories or whatever. Like wrestling isn't the place for that.
Yeah,
it annoys me a bit.
I mean, I kind of know what you mean. Like, I don't really want to get into it being Scottish, because I agree. But like,
no, like everyone has their political views, but there's a time and a place.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But yeah, like say, if we can keep that out of it, maybe he could just have a little nod. He could come out to like Run the Jewels or Stormzy or something, and that's enough. We all know.
Yeah.
We all know. Keep it to Twitter. But yeah, so Zack Sabre Jr. gets the win, and we are on closing the first half of the show with the Progress World Championship. This was a strange match. TK Cooper taking on Travis Banks for the title, and obviously these two are friends, and they really went for it. To be fair, I mean they really did go for it. It played off of the Chris Brooks Travis Banks match where the title almost came into play. The other guy came out, and so on and so forth. Obviously set up something for a later chapter that we'll not talk about just yet, since technically it's not happened yet. But yeah, this was good, but I don't know, it was missing something for me. Like I really like TK Cooper. I'm a big fan of his. But I don't know, this Travis Banks championship run feels a little bit empty to me. Like now that they've got past like him sort of avenging the ghosts of the run up, the matches he lost, defeating Keith Lee, Matt Riddle, Pete Dunne, that kind of thing. Now he's on to this sort of Best Boys, CCK, South Pacific Power Trip like thing that's going on. I mean, it makes sense, but it's just it's not as involved as I think I want it to be, because no one's really playing the bad guy here.
No, I think what else you probably have to take into account is that Pete Dunne was, as much of a heel as he was such a good champion for him.
Yeah.
He sort of really brought the spotlight onto Progress.
Yeah.
He had some, proper good rivalries in that time with, Travis Banks being the last one. And then the title's gone to Banks, and the run hasn't got quite the same effect.
Yeah.
I think, he's been a good champion. He's, been this fighting champion, taking on all comers, which, suits his character. But I think whoever was going to be champion after Pete Dunne just wasn't going to be as good, unfortunately.
I mean, I'd actually raise it slightly higher than that, even. If we take away the fact it's Pete Dunne, I would almost go so far as to say that I'm not sure that Progress can book a face champion as well as they can a heel. Because if you look through it, if you look through the history of it, the best champions have always been heels.
Yeah.
Like the Jimmy Havoc reign of terror, the Pete Dunne reign of terror. Like they're the two sort of classic championship matches, and Yeah, like it's a shame because Travis is good and he deserves it, and I don't know, maybe we'll see a heel turn from Travis. But right now it's I don't know. I don't like the fact that these guys are sort of co-fighting. We don't really have anyone to boo in that regard. And that's kind of the
No,
same. We have it with the tag division as well. Kind of is that um, there's no real face teams when Mustache Mountain are split up and booked in different. You've got Aussie Open, but other than that, there's no genuine top face tag team in progress.
no.
Whereas you've got like
And with
three
Aussie
heel.
Open, sort of Mark Davis being in the Natural Progression series, they're not going to be tagging for the foreseeable future either.
Yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, I think he wins Natural Progression. Is an early prediction for me. But anyway.
Yeah.
So one little thing I should point out from the intermission, Trent Seven came out, said that he was getting his flight to the Royal Rumble, and then came out he was sad because he missed his taxi. It was pretty good fun. It was a nice moment. It was a good Trent Seven laugh, and obviously
Yeah, he has his moments.
he wasn't in the Royal Rumble, but neither was Pete Dunne, as I claimed he would be on the FPG News podcast.
None of them. I thought that was quite weird.
Yeah, I thought that Pete Dunne was an absolute set to appear in the Royal Rumble match. So that was very, yeah, it was very peculiar. Yeah, I think Trent was the only guy, the only member of British Strong Style who was in the UK over the Royal Rumble weekend, and yeah, none of them appeared. But hey ho, they got to collect some nice awards on the NXT show, I suppose, so didn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, so was what it was, and we opened the second half with a promo from Ginny telling us that Millie McKenzie was out. She wasn't going to take on Toni Storm for the Women's Championship, and Ginny was going to handpick Toni's opponent, and we got Shakara, who apparently is only 17.
Really?
Yeah, I learned this like researching for the show. Like she's really young.
No.
And I mean she's good for her age, but like there was no threat to Toni Storm here. I don't know if it's been because we've not actually seen Toni in so long, but yeah, this was a quick match, and unlike the Bill Eaver match, the Roy Johnson sort of debacle at the end, there wasn't an injury here. Like this was as close to a squash match I feel that we're getting in progress. Short of like the Matt Riddle Trent Seven match from Super Strong Style last year. So I don't know if you have anything to say about this, or I can let you talk about after the match if you want.
Well, I mean, from what everything's happening, they're waiting for Ginny to be healthy, and then she's going to win the title.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good bet at the moment. As much as I like Toni Storm, she's sort of doing other things. She's not there all the time, and it's her. Well, now the new Natural Progression series is coming. She's been champion for almost a year.
Yeah.
So yeah, they need a new champion. But as for after the match, yeah, they've sort of Ginny and Shakara.
Nina Samuels.
Yeah, Nina Samuels came out and helped for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
There's this new woman's stable of House of Couture.
Yes, yeah. I think that is what they're running with. Although we do know that from shows that have happened since, guys. Don't worry about it. Just to pull back the curtain on the show, there we are. Remember, we're weeks behind.
Yeah, they did. I think it was Glenn that sort of said the name first.
Yeah.
And it's just stuck. But yeah, I can't see what's going to happen once she's a champion. I don't know if they'll just keep it going and have like a woman's style, British strong style stable.
I mean, I think why not?
You know,
I think why not? I think they've got enough women at the moment, especially when Millie's healthy. You know, if you add in the likes of Candy Floss, you've got Martina can still work Progress. You know, there's plenty other guys. I said that was an equality slip. That was what that was. That was guy, not guys like men, guys. Just guys through the back.
Guys like people.
They're guys like people. They're all equal pegging. So yeah, there's plenty of people they can have. I think there's legs, and like we've said on this show umpteen times before, Tony's not doing anything with this belt. As good as she is when we see her, there's no storyline here really. Like they've forced this, knowing that she's going to appear on the next couple of shows. But other than that, you know, it's been a year and it's been pretty underwhelming. You know, there's been big shows happen without her being on them, and it's just not really good enough. You know, at least Ginny's around, so yeah. Next up, we had Jimmy Havoc and Mark Haskins alongside his wife Vicky taking on Mark Andrews and Danny Jones, who were tagging apparently because they're both Welsh, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yep. We continued the tension between Andrews and Dennis. He came out and ran down Mark Andrews again, said that he's going to, you know, continue this until he gets the match against Andrews. Yeah, this was weird. This was a weird match. It was good. Don't get me wrong. It was a really good match, but like I don't know what Danny Jones was doing here other than being Welsh and like taking the pin, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything you have to say about that, or
no. It's all just geared towards Dennis and Andrews. I think Danny Jones being there was just a side point, really.
Yeah.
That, you know, this guy we think is quite good, we'll give him a chance. You know, adding to Havoc and Haskins' winning streak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just Danny Jones just was in, you know, the wrong place at the wrong time, sort of thing.
Yep.
Which is a shame, because from what I did see of him, he's fairly decent, but he didn't have really that sort of chance to shine.
No, exactly. I mean, when you've got when you're the sort of third wheel in a tag match that's trying to tell two stories in it, you know, with the continuation of the Dennis and Andrews thing and the Haskins Havoc scenario, like it was trying to tell both those stories at once. Like, you know, Danny Jones was completely forgotten here. Like it was almost apparent that he was going to eat the pinfall. I mean, nothing wrong. I love Havoc and Haskins. I think that they're probably the most consistently great thing on Progress at the moment. I think that they are well deserving of things that they've received since this show. Yep, we'll get to that. We'll tune in at a later date for thoughts on that. But yeah, I think they're great. So I'm happy to see them continue to win. I guess I'm happy to see the Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews thing continuing, but I don't think they can keep like toying with it that much longer. I think
they have to pull the trigger at some point.
I mean, there's so much that can happen in the meantime. You know, like Mark Andrews is heavily rumoured to have already signed a full-time WWE contract.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you don't watch WWE anymore.
Yeah.
But basically, the cruiserweights after, you know, he who shall not be named left as champion.
Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
Yep.
He, you know, they got a tournament to do a new champion. Mark Andrews and Tyler Bate were both in that tournament. Bate lost in the first round. Andrews is through to the next round. I don't know if that means he's a cruiserweight full time or not, but
yeah,
I hope not, because the cruiserweights seem to be where talent goes to die. So,
well, maybe not anymore. We shall see. We shall see. It's promising now, I think. But you know, I'm sure we've all said that before, so let's not get too excited. But yeah, they need to pull the trigger on it quickly. Just do it. And yeah, okay, I know I've said some things about Eddie Dennis. This is working, okay? I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Next.
I think honestly, they might have happened a bit sooner, but Dennis has got quite a bad sort of pectoral injury.
Yeah.
So his schedule's been extremely light.
Yeah. Well, like I say, hopefully they get this out of the way before we miss it altogether. But you know, at least WWE have been pretty good with the UK guys and their sort of prior commitments and stuff. So I genuinely think that we'll get this match sooner or later, and it'll be good because it's Mark Andrews and he's good. So Eddie Dennis, I suppose, will be there as well. But
yeah, Dennis he's so good as a heel at the moment.
Yes. Yeah,
he's better as a heel.
He is better as a heel. I will give him that. So next up we had the returning Doug Williams, who we've seen actually quite often in Progress Ring recently. Last saw him taking on Joe Coffey. Was it Joe Coffey or was it Timothy Thatcher? No,
it was Coffey.
It was Coffey, yes.
Yeah.
We saw him taking on Flash Morgan Webster, who did say that he was leaving. He couldn't buy a win in Progress. He wondered what he was doing there anymore. So Doug Williams, finding himself in a similar position, called him out. I believe it was on Twitter, actually. He said, we both need a win. Let's do this. And yeah, it was a bit of a greatest hits for Doug Williams, and they sort of got into the right desperation sort of stuff. Doug was going to take a count-out victory at one point, and then Vicky Haskins appeared. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know quite what's going on there, but she keeps turning up, and sort of Webster's telling her to fuck off, basically.
Yeah.
Why would he do that? But
well, I know.
Like, if I was in a match and she came out, I'd be like, yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks, Vicky. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're building to her, I think, almost having a little sort of like stable of havoc, so to speak. We might see a bit of a dark side of Flash. So yeah, I think it's pretty it's pretty interesting. I mean, the match itself was neither here nor there. Like I say, Doug Williams doesn't have much left in his run. I think he's announced his retirement like 3 times or something. So I don't think we're going to see him an awful lot more. But
no, I mean, to be fair, he's still in like a spectacular shape for a guy of his age.
Yeah.
There's only so much your body can take. Like, he's been doing it for, I don't know, like 200 years or something, they said. Yes. Pretty sure, something like that.
Yeah, considering that he's over 200 years old, he is in very good shape, yeah. So yeah, Vicky came out, and it's a bit of a mystery there. Now, the main event was Big Lads Wrestling. We had the collision of Ring Camp in the main event as Walter took on his Ring Camp teammate Timothy Thatcher. Walter is well on the WWE radar, if recent rumours are to be believed, and this is exactly why. This was absolutely fucking bonkers. This was exactly what you would think a Brock Lesnar match should be. Wow, just
Yeah.
I don't know if you can add more to the superlatives I'm currently slavering, but yeah.
Well, yeah, basically, Walter and Thatcher essentially try to murder each other. Walter by essentially chopping through Timothy Thatcher like a tree, which he damn near succeeded in, but sort of Thatcher at one point injured his hand, or injured Walter's hand.
Yeah.
So Walter was doing his chops left-handed, which were no less brutal.
Yeah.
Lots of power bombs, boots, clotheslines, you name it.
Yeah.
They did it. And it got quite heated between them, seeing as they're sort of stable mates.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to think that this is the sort of match that two guys who trust each other implicitly can have. Because there was no quarter whatsoever. Like, I genuinely don't think that I've ever seen a match that was where there was so little care. Do you know, this was as close as damned to a real fight as I think you're ever likely to see without it being a proper shoot.
I think they know, like you said, sort of, they know each other enough that they know what they can handle.
Yeah.
So they're backstage and they're like, fuck it, shall we just go full on, like, try and kill each other?
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of times where I like winced and fucking held through this match. There was one moment where I believe Walter like stood on Timothy Thatcher's head.
Oh yeah.
Like he just walked on him. It's like, wow, the guy's like 300 pounds.
Yeah. And Thatcher at one point had quite a gnarly looking armbar applied.
Yeah.
And would probably have dislocated an elbow or a shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this isn't, if you're listening to this without having seen it, like, this isn't, like, normal wrestling hyperbole. Like, this isn't Michael Cole sort of going, oh, if he had that armbar in another, like, 3 or 4 seconds, he might have dislocated something. Like, actually,
yeah,
this was like a full-on, like, proper, as close as damned to real armbar as you're ever going to see in a fake fight.
It's like an armbar you'd see in a cage.
Yeah. Like this was as close as damned, and like I say, I think that because these two guys trust each other so much, they took it to the absolute limit. Walter ended up winning. It was just, it was incredible. It was incredible. The number of lariats that like I couldn't get over. The noise from them, just, if you've not seen this match, you need to go and watch this match, because it's everything that's good about the Atlas Championship division in Progress. Hell, it's everything that's good about Progress. I think like this was the most strong style match I think I've seen, probably outside of Japan, ever, I would say. So yeah, it's just not much more I can say than go and watch it if you haven't already. It's just bonkers.
It's worth, even if you're sort of not a subscriber, it's worth renting the show just to watch that match, I think.
Yeah. If for whatever reason you rely on us for your Progress needs, one, you're probably quite behind at this point and are cursing our names. But two, go and watch this. So that was chapter 62 in the books. Fear No More, Come to Dust, and just before we go, Liam, do you have a match of the night, or is that pretty obvious at this point?
Yeah, I think anything other than the Atlas match is just stupidity to say match of
Yeah,
the night. So
yeah. Like I mean, there's everyone's got an opinion and everyone's entitled to their own. But if you say anything other than the Atlas Championship match here, then you're incorrect. Really, like there was a couple of good matches on the card, but this is probably going to be their match of the year. I think this is
yeah,
a very early contender for Progress's match of the year. So
I mean, when people say sort of, that was worth the price of admission alone, they're kind of phoning it in a bit. But yeah, if all the other matches got cancelled and I just saw that match, I'd be quite happy with that.
Yep. So yeah, that's exactly it. So that is all we have time for on this one, or not all we have time for. It's all we have. That's all we have. So that was chapter 62. We have been screaming for progress. If you want to find us on Twitter, it's at Progress Scream. You can also search us on Facebook. You'd be best finding us under FPG News, searching on Facebook, where you can also find all the good stuff that Liam and I do on a day-to-day basis, as well as other shows, other writing, all sorts of things. Other than that, I'm out after Dark 216. Liam has been the Grim Fish on Twitter. Please hit us up if you listen to the show. Love to hear from you guys. But Liam, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, that's it.
That's it. Perfect.
Said it all.
Until next time, which is hopefully very, very soon, don't be a dick. Good night.